All right, welcome back to Shadow Shorts. If you've never discovered us until now, my name is Jeff Eccles. I'm a senior advisor and the head of marketing at Shadow Partners, and we're rolling out a daily effort. And there's maybe some caveats there along the way, but a daily effort to bring you what we know and who we know in the world of innovation in the built environment. And so today I am joined by Rowland Hobbs, who's a co-founder and CEO at Stake. And if I could summarize Stake, and Roland, you can correct me where I get this wrong, but it's fin-powered real estate platform on a mission to make renting financially rewarding. And I find that very interesting because we're not just talking about renters when we say financially rewarding. So first of all, thank you for
You're
joining
welcome.
me today for Shadow Shorts.
Yeah,
And
of course. Happy to be here.
yeah, it's great to have you here. One of the things when we were setting this up, one of the things that you said is I would love to talk about dynamic pricing. So tell me, what is dynamic pricing and what does dynamic pricing mean in the realm of multifamily?
Dynamic pricing responds to the market. So tools like AIRM from RealPage, YieldStar, LRO, all these are tools that help you price a one bedroom, two bedroom studio in a multifamily based on what demand is in the market and other factors that may be coming in. So to put it simply, price goes up, price goes down, is where multifamily and dynamic pricing sits today. And it's the way that multifamily decides how to go to market and what they're going to price based on seasonality, what they're going to price based on location, and priced on based on demand of that particular property.
Okay. So that sounds like a real advantage when it comes to recruiting and retention of tenants. So if I'm a multifamily owner and I'm thinking dynamic pricing, okay, how do I keep as many of these units filled as possible? Does it also have an effect, or I guess positive or negative, on the tenant side?
Well, this is the challenge, right? Like there's some real pressure at the moment saying it doesn't have, this is a lot of folks say this is what's caused prices to go up, and a lot, even current DOJ investigation around dynamic pricing, saying, is this a way to be able to artificially set prices high? Because it doesn't have to do with the residents who are coming in. So it has to do with what the people down the street are pricing at, and in the market and how they're pricing and trying to optimize yield as much as possible. Now, good or bad, that is just one facet of where dynamic pricing can be. The other part of dynamic pricing, which isn't taken into account today, is things like economic vacancy, right? Like
Okay.
if you end up increasing the rent so high, did you end up getting people who couldn't renew, getting people who couldn't pay the rent? So are you getting a reduction in propensity to pay and stay? So yeah, I think dynamic pricing today doesn't take into account the resident, and that's not great for the resident, and also not really great for the owner.
Well, sure. Yeah. If I have open units, then that's not, as the owner, that's not a good situation for me either.
Right.
Um, so, when you're looking at your work with Stake and what you've created in the app, and I say you, and I know one of the things you're going to say is, well, we've got this big team, exactly. But I guess the royal you um, does. How does dynamic pricing, or does dynamic pricing come into play in your work?
So I started out personally working in the world of hospitality in loyalty and rewards, where the
Okay.
pricing of your promotions, same thing in airlines, same thing with Amazon Prime, the pricing of your promotions is directly tied to your pricing.
Okay.
So you don't separate those two. It'd be weird to kind of have a sale at a hotel without considering who you wanted to come into that hotel. You want your best
Sure.
customers to
Sure.
come in, not just anybody coming in, because you can actually get better retention pricing over time. Multifamily today just takes the price goes up down.
Mm.
So at Stake, we're incentive optimization. So we look at the promotional side. How much do you need to get the renter that's going to stay, that's going to pay? And there's all this work that goes into multifamily to underwrite, to kind of be able to say, like, is this a qualified renter to come in, income, uh, you know, uh, making sure they pass a credit check. But that doesn't fundamentally tell you if they have a higher propensity to pay or stay. But if you do the right promotions, you can do that, right? So we do cash back, and cash back is a way to be able to get a dynamic promotional tool. So we work really well alongside a revenue management tool, but we think that there's a missing component that when you're pricing dynamically, you want, I don't know, think about two knobs in front of you, one where the price goes up, down, and the other where your promotions go up, down. And you're more powerful when you have two knobs rather than just one.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. So you've explained a little bit about what stake is and how it works. Let me back up half a step. Why did you create stake?
Well, I think that there's a couple things that happen in the market. One, renters are really struggling to be able to create savings, to be able to get something back. The common phrase of "I feel like I'm throwing money out the window when I rent." Of course, owners and operators would disagree with that. They would say, "You're getting quite a bit, but you're not throwing money out the window. We put a lot into this property." But that shows that there's a misalignment of incentives here, right? That the perception on one side doesn't meet maybe the reality on the other. And so to me, that gets resolved with the right alignment of incentives and being able to make sure that one side is being able to do well by the other side doing good. And you end up being able to make sure that, they price their promotions correctly. Renters get more cash back in their FDIC insured checking accounts. They get access to a whole bunch of financial tools to help them forward on the thing that's the hardest, which is their largest payment every single month. And so to us, that mission of being able to help renters build wealth starts with being able to take on the most difficult thing, which is pricing. And if we're taking that on, let's take on all the money that's spent on amenities that doesn't have any data behind it, on promotions that don't have any data behind it. And let's power that with data so owners and operators can literally be able to optimize that in the right way and renters get more money in their wallet.
Yeah. And and, th- and so, back around, bringing it all the way full circle, I guess that also has a big benefit to the owners and operators, right?
Yeah, well, that's what if you have that second knob here for them, which is like,
Mhm.
hey, I want to be able to manage my delinquency, or I have no delinquency problem, but I really want to be able to manage my renewals because I really got, especially in the last couple of years, good price increase. I want to keep people there. How are you going to do that? And there's so much guessing that goes into it today. So we provide a data-driven tool that says, hey, we're going to tell you exactly what your renters are going to respond to, how much cash back or how much incentive to give to get them to do what you need them to do. And now you have this other tool. So they're getting it all on a dashboard. It's very similar to AIRM or Yield Start, but it's designed for your promotions. So it's a similar way of being able to manage your promotions, but with data and with some predictability.
Nice. And so, who do you work with now? I mean, who's your ideal customer, I guess?
Revenue managers and asset managers. So the folks who are setting the price. And I think that a lot of times there's this disconnect, right, between revenue, marketing, and on-site operations, because we're really, when we talk about economic vacancy, which is all the things that happen that are, somebody didn't pay the rent on time, they didn't renew, it's this big bucket of economic vacancy. That kind of at its core is like we couldn't get the renters to do what we wanted them to do. They didn't pay the rent, they didn't renew the lease. So that's an action, that's a marketing action. So I think that we're letting revenue managers get that connection over to empower their renters to solve for this whole NOI challenge that they have today. And of course, NOI improvements are really crucial in the current interest rate environment.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a big question these days too, right? Yeah, really good point. If you want to know more about Stake, put the URL down the bottom left-hand corner there. Stake.rent is where you can go. And of course, right now you may be watching us on LinkedIn or Twitter live, or you may be watching a recording on YouTube or somewhere else. Roland is really easy to find on LinkedIn and all the socials, as well as myself. If you want to know more about Shadow Partners, you can find me, connect with me on LinkedIn, or go to shadowpartners.co. That's our URL. And I would say also, if these types of conversations intrigue you, we're 3 or 4 episodes in now to Shadow Shorts, which is, like I said, it's going to there are going to be some caveats, but this will become a regular series at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. If these types of conversations about innovation in the built environment, hey, how do the economics of for rent multifamily projects work? How can we make it better for the owners and operators? How can we make it better for the tenants? You're going to see lots of these conversations about the future of built environment. Maybe it's fintech, proptech, other types of tech, AI, generative design. Um, First of all, follow us and watch out for these shadow shorts. But second of all, consider coming to Atlanta in October to Shadow Summit. It's our 2 day summit that we're in our 7th year, I believe, for Shadow Summit. And these are the types of conversations, in-depth conversations about innovation in the built environment happen at Shadow Summit every year. We're putting together a great lineup, and it's a great place for you to immerse yourself not only in what has happened in terms of tech and innovation in the built environment through 2023, but also what to look out for, what to plan for, what to budget for in 2024. So how's that for a Shadow Summit commercial? Um, the but to wrap it back around to talk about dynamic pricing, Roland, is there anything else that we didn't touch on that we should touch on? I think specifically for the owners and operators. I know your team is headed to a big conference here this week.
In
For
Atlanta. So it's
and
all in Atlanta. So
it's everything's happening in Atlanta. You're not in Atlanta. I'm not in Atlanta. Neither of us are in Atlanta
everybody
right
else is
now.
in Atlanta. We're the
Everybody else is in Atlanta. Everybody but us. Um, so for everybody that's headed to Atlanta to talk about, the real estate world, is there anything that we need to touch on that we didn't when it comes to dynamic pricing?
Look, I think right now, this when you're looking at budgets, things are getting too broken out between amenities versus amenities that can actually help you outperform. And so I think that what happened in the up economy is a lot of money went into
Yeah,
innovation, amenities, but these are really tough to be able to track. And so where you want to be able to move that to is, are these amenities actually helping you outperform? And a lot of times they're considered separate from your, pricing tools or revenue management tools, but actually they should all be in the same bucket. Marketing should be a way that you can prove. I think we've learned that over the last 20 years, right? Everything digital is provable
right.
and can be trackable. And if it's your concessions, it's your promotions, it's your amenities, you should be tracking that right alongside your revenue management.
All right, excellent. That's great advice and a lot of wisdom in that comment right there. Should be trackable, provable. All right, Roland Hobbs, co-founder and CEO at Stake. Stake.rent is the URL that you need to find. Connect with Roland on LinkedIn. Go to stake.rent and learn more about the Stake tool. And until next time, thank you for joining us for Shadow Shorts. Roland, thank you for joining me. And
Thank you. This is fun. I love shadow shorts. Let's do more of them.
we'll definitely do more. And for if you're out there wondering what are shadow shorts, they're conversations like this with startup founders. We're going to have a series called Meet the VCs. We're going to do plenty of roundtables and fireside chats. So it's going to be a lot of different types of content that we'll bring to you every day at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific. So look out for the next shadow shorts. Again, Roland, thank you. I'm Jeff
Yeah.
Eccles, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jeff.
everybody.
Yeah. Bye.